I coached the man for a couple of years, and I finally convinced him to take the plunge into self-employment, and he managed to clock a couple of $1,000 investing in real estate with $0, no credit, no job, because he burned the ships and opted to go all in wholesaling real estate. A couple of months later, he got into some trouble, ended up with 12 felony counts on his jacket, $0. He didn't fix his credit throughout the time he was making some money. I gave him a plan to proceed. A little over a year and change later, he cleared $400,000 investing in real estate again. $0, zero credit score, no job for starters. Ride with me. First things first, you want to ensure that you find a small group of investors, anywhere from 3 to 5 to 10. You may already know people in your immediate circle that are eager to find ways or places into which they can deploy their capital so it does not continue to depreciate in a bank or under a mattress, or it does not encounter all of the devaluing conditions before which it is exposed. You may have those people in your family. You may already know. I'm sure of it because you're just like me, Generation X, millennials, and we came up in a world where instead of scrolling all day for distractions, at least on my part, I can say I was scrolling, trooping it from block to block on bike, looking for people with whom to speak, something to serve, a girl to bag, whatever. It was people on a daily basis outside. So we are social creatures, all the people among our age group and demographic and psychographic profile. That means you know a lot of people, and these people are eager to deploy capital because it is the right thing to do. It's biblical. Matthew 25, the parable of the talents. Verse 14, if I'm not mistaken. Take whatever it is that you have and multiply it. Be fructiferous, as it reads in Genesis. And people know they have to invest, especially with the inflation existing right now. I'm going to cover some broad strokes on how to get all of this done. But if you want the specifics and how to deal with the nuances of real estate investing in this way, using these tactics, go ahead and book a call with me. The link is in the video description below. I've opened up my calendar for the next couple of days. I don't know for how long. I'll have it redirect elsewhere once I'm too tied up. So go ahead and pick up an appointment. I'll be talking to people through this weekend, perhaps not on Sunday. I'll try to open up some time then as well. But today, tomorrow, and the day after, feel free to go ahead and book a 30-minute strategy session where I'll go over the specifics of what you need to do based on whatever situation in which you're involved, because we're aiming to put together a done-for-you package where I can just get you leads, people that during the next step you will find out what you require. So once you have these investors from the immediate group, you may want to find others also in your area, which you can locate by performing a couple of queries right on Google. So you can find these investors by performing queries such as sell my house for cash fast, or sell my house for cash, cash buyers. And what that will do is load up a number of results of people who regularly invest in homes, in real estate, multifamily units, whatever. Stay away from the national shops, from organizations that are investing out of state from where you are located. Try to get people who work in your region, in your area, in your state, in your locality. And you tell them, listen, I am an acquisition specialist and I want to find some motivated sellers. I'm actually speaking with a few of them right now. You should be already as well. I mean, there's ways for you to find them. I'll go ahead and cover some of those tactics too. And I like to know, how many properties do you buy on a monthly basis? The type of investor you're looking for is someone who wants to buy a couple of properties. So like that, you can put out an offer and you already have cash buyers. Now you have to have an understanding as to what is the criteria that they seek when they are deploying their capital into real estate. What type of units are they seeking? Are they looking for single family homes, twin homes? Are they looking for multi-family units, apartment buildings? So some people may like one thing, other people may like, that's why they got Neapolitan, right? And you could be whatever, but ideally you want to focus on one thing, you can get good at one thing, and then you're able to target respective buyers and sellers in that space in which you dominate. Now, armed with this network of people that you are in contact with through email, through phone number, now you can go ahead and start to find the owners of these properties that have motivated sellers. So, for instance, one way that you could do it, you could simply drive around. It's called Drive for Dollars. You've probably seen it, bumping heads with other videos discussing this, where you are looking for properties and you see a property perhaps that's abandoned because it has overgrown lawns or yards and boarded up windows and graffiti, yada, yada. You know that nobody's living up in there. They got broken windows. And this may be a property that someone does not want to deal with anymore. They perhaps tried to sell it, the listing expired, skip tracing. And there's a tool, it's called Propstream. And there are other tools that also perform this service for you, where it will locate the owner of this property. You could also call the municipality or take a look at the municipality's website and you're able to search for the property owner. But these tools, they streamline this process because it goes through databases of various municipalities across the country. So you're able to locate the contact information, and it costs like 12 cents per lead if you use PropStream, for instance. And you're able to get the contact information and speak to these people, call them, text them, email them, and again, put your offer out. I'll show you how to do that shortly. Keep watching. If you want the specifics, again, book the call. The link is in the video description below. Love to speak, and based off of your situation, those of you with whom I have had the pleasure to interact can tell you that I will work nonstop to ensure that whatever specific problem or circumstance that you encounter, I will tailor a solution just for you. And you can also find these people by using a tool like PropStream, and you can just set up the criteria and filters for the types of leads that you are seeking. You can cold call them. That's not that effective. What we are doing right now is actually advertising before potential motivated sellers. We have a psychographic profile of the people we're trying to target. We load that into Meta and into Google, and we post these ads, and people call back. I want to sell my house for cash. You get motivated sellers when you are typically looking for people that potentially want to sell. It's harder to find them because you don't know whether they want to sell at that particular moment in time. Perhaps they do have a dilapidated property. Perhaps it is financially distressed. These are some of the motivators that will drive a person to want to take that property off their hand. Also, people who are heirs of property. For instance, someone has a father, God forbid, that passed in a southern state. Nonetheless, that person lives in a northern state, such as New York, for instance, where people love their city jobs, for example. And they're not cushy in every sense of the word. They may not be white collar nonetheless, but they get used to it. They get used to working there and they like the job. They love getting paid overtime and double time for working Sundays or whatever. And they've got like 5 years left to retire. So they're not trying to leave that job anytime soon to care for a property that bothers them more than benefits them. They'd rather get rid of it. So, for instance, this particular person may have to take time out of their day to deal with problems such as a fine because someone threw garbage there and no one's there to clean it. For instance, maybe there's a tax bill. They have to call the municipality. They want to get rid of all that stuff, and they're not worried about putting money into this thing to try to flip it or none of that. That's not their MO. Their MO is working their job, for instance, and that's it. And they don't want to take quality time away from their family or perhaps another business in which they are involved or another hobby, drawing or decorating, whatever it is that they do, who knows, or maybe traveling, whatever the case may be. So they want to get rid of this thing fast. So what you have to do is start to perform an analysis on the comparative properties. So this is called the comp analysis. based off of the other properties that share the same amenities as this particular property, you are going to come up with an after repair value. How much will this property be worth after you perform the necessary repairs in order to have it at 2020, 2023, or 2024 shape, where it's modern, where it's livable, and someone will want to put more money into living into a home such as this. Make it nice. Calculate that ARV, which is after repair value, okay, which is different from the market value, because the market value is the value of it in an open market as is without these necessary repairs. After repair value, now it's at its best and most optimum state, right? So for instance, the property's after repair value is $200,000. You are going to offer somewhere in the neighborhood of 60% to 70%. Let's work with the 70% example. You offer 70%, which is $140,000, right? Let's say it's going to cost $40,000 to put it in shape and in a place where it can sell for $200,000. So what you're going to do is subtract that $40,000 from the $140,000, and your offer will equate to $100,000. You make that offer to the seller. If you get that person to accept, again, addressing those problems, how that money is going to help them, free them from this time and money that they're putting into this property that's more of a pest than a benefit. Once that person agrees, then you're going to effectively draft, issue, and execute a purchasing agreement with that motivated seller. That purchasing agreement is going to include an assignment clause, which allows you to assign the contract to another buyer because you have $0, no credit, no job. That's the person that's essentially going to buy and take that property off of the motivated seller's hands. It's also going to set a time for you to perform due diligence, such as an inspection. Also, it must include contingencies to protect yourself from financing and inspection contingencies, for instance. It also will include perhaps an earnest money deposit. An earnest money deposit is some money that you pay to show good faith that you are serious about processing this transaction. Now, what you also may want to include is that you have 3 business days to pay this earnest money deposit. That way, since you have no money, you can include in the next agreement that you're going to draft that the buyer will pay that earnest money deposit within 3 business days or 2 business days if it takes you 1 day to contact this particular person. So for instance, the earnest money deposit may be $100, $500, $1,000, whatever. Again, in the assignment agreement, that's the agreement that you will execute with the buyer of the property, the investor. That's where it will include that person has to pay that. Also, what they will pay is the assignment fee. Now, you could either take all the money up front, depending on what you negotiate with the investor. You may want to take a deposit. So, for instance, if the assignment fee on the hypothetical example that I just presented, for instance, was $10,000, you could say, listen, pay me $5,000 now. And upon closing, you pay me the rest of the $5,000. Or you can just take it once they close. And bang, you made $10,000. Now, that's a small example in terms of what you can potentially face and close using this tactic in order to generate revenue investing in real estate. I'll just give you an example. Same guy I'm telling you about. He put a building in contract for $1.2 million. He got an investor to pay $1.3 million. The building owed $20,000 in taxes. So he paid those $20,000 with the $100,000 that he made profit, and he pocketed $80,000. If this transaction took him a month to process, or a couple of months even, because some people don't even make $80,000 in 1 year, he clocked that paper as quickly as possible. So you can do the exact same thing. Again, you want the specific tactics. We've got programs in place done for you, or do it yourself where we guide you through the entire process step by step, regardless of whether you are a beginner, whether you have felony, or whatever it is that you have in your record that may stop you or you think is a snag in ensuring that you take a piece of the American dream. Book the call. Watch the video you see on the screen right now.